Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Doug sent me notes. Steve, hey, there's an update to this story about the Ford surveillance patent system. And what he's talking about, of course, is that I did a video about a week ago regarding Ford filing for a patent on a system that would allow vehicles to be set up in such a way that they would report speeders and other people in traffic near them to law enforcement, and that way law enforcement could then get involved and chase somebody down. And it was reported differently in different outlets, but it was all based on a patent, an actual United States patent, number 0239352A1, which I've got a copy of in my left hand. But the Drive.com did one of the first stories on this, and then apparently Ford Motor Company reached out to them and others and said, hey guys, calm down a little bit. It's not as bad as you're making it out to be. So here's their statement, and they say that the system is specific for application in law enforcement vehicles, such as the Ford Police Interceptor. And it's a system that would automate a capability that law enforcement already have in use today, except this would utilize the built-in system and sensors in the vehicle. The patent does not state that driving data from customers' vehicles would be shared with law enforcement, which is what some media have incorrectly reported. And note, patent applications are intended to protect new ideas, but aren't necessarily an indication of new business or product plans. So, just to be clear here, if you look at the patent application on the abstract, which is the brief description on the first page, but it's written in very dense, patenty language, abstract, this disclosure is generally directed to systems and methods for detecting and responding to speeding violations. An example method executed by a processor in a first vehicle, and then it has parenthetical, a law enforcement vehicle, for example. Now, here's the thing. Lawyers will tell you on the one hand, if you'd said law enforcement vehicles, for example, the implication is that it might include other things. You're not limited to that unless you say, by limitation, I'm going to give you the example. But it says here, law enforcement vehicle, for example, implying that that is one example of where it can be used. However, I read someplace else that, for instance, law enforcement might have these on their own vehicles, and say a city might say, let's put them on our fire trucks. Let's put them on our ambulances. Let's put them on our city cars. And so that's the implication that Ford is really pushing towards here, is that it's going to be in that setting, but not in customer cars. However, they don't rule that out in their patent. But again, the guy points out, or the person points out in the spokesperson's note, patent applications are intended to protect new ideas, but aren't necessarily an indication of new business or product plans. So there are examples of people who patented stuff and never built one. And they've also patented things they didn't roll out. And so it very well could be that this right here, if it gets rolled out, will get rolled out only to the police. Now, could it be rolled out to civilian cars? Well, I believe, and again, I'm basing that on some of the diagrams, although I only have one page in my left hand at the moment. But there's many, many other pages. I think it's a 19-page application that describes all these different sensors and things that are on vehicles. And I don't think most civilian cars are equipped with those just yet. Wouldn't surprise me if it happens, but as of right now. So I don't think that, Ford could flip a switch and suddenly make your car start doing this. Your car would have to have a bunch of equipment on it that it probably doesn't already have. And they say that police cars do have, okay? So getting back to the original story, if in fact it had been the case that they're planning on just turning the entire fleet of all Ford vehicles on the road into a huge spy network, Big Brother style for the government, that'd be very bad. I think most people would agree with that. They're saying, calm down, people. We're just talking about implementing a system that would automate what they've already got in their cars, for example, police cars. However, it could probably be rolled out to other vehicles, but it looks like to do that would require putting more equipment on cars than they already have. So I apologize for my previous video in that sense, because I don't know that I specified hard enough that just because somebody patents something doesn't mean they're going to use it or build it. And number two, it doesn't mean they're going to utilize it in every possible manner. Okay? So could this be used wrongly? Probably. but it probably would also involve them installing stuff on your cars that isn't already there. And therefore, that gets rid of one of the arguments, because if I had to pay to put the different sensors on my car and they're being used by the police, that would bother me. But if they're not on my car, they can't use them, so there you go. So just to be clear, and again, the statement from Ford Motor Company, the system is specific for application in law enforcement vehicles, such as the Ford Police Interceptor. And it's a system with automated capability that law enforcement already have in use today, except this would utilize the built-in system and sensors in the vehicle. Patent does not state that driving data from customers' vehicles would be shared with law enforcement, which is what some media have incorrectly reported. The real question, of course, is could it have been, though? Could it have been? Because I don't know. If it can't be, then obviously we'll stop. And note, patent applications are intended to protect new ideas, but aren't necessarily an indication of new business or product plans. And that, of course, is also true that you can patent something and never build one, never sell one, never even return to the idea again. You just patent it to protect it and you move on. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But again, I believe that there is always that concern about how our cars narc us out, whether it's simply, black box data or something. But there you go. So again, United States Patent Application Publication, number 0239352A1. And I got the statement from Ford Motor Company from thedrive.com. And Doug, thanks for tipping me off to that question. Your comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. It's a great thing when you realize you still have the ability to surprise yourself. Makes you wonder what else you could do that you've forgotten about.